This is the Better Life, Better Work Show, and I'm your host, Allison Crow. I'm a life and self-leadership coach for authentic and ambitious small business owners and professionals. I show up here in your ears as a transparent leader doing the same inner and outer work that you are. I'm here to remind you that you're probably a gardener and not a machine, and that soft, sustainable, and soulful success is actually available to you on your own terms. Emotional presence and wellness are also available to you as someone who juggles both an amazing business and a beautiful life. I'm here to remind you that more is not better, better is better. I love that you're up for this. Okay, we're live. I think this is episode number 175. I think.
That's a great number.
I know.
Like round numbers.
I think there's totally 185 because, oh man, side note, this is not really about podcasts, but yeah, and you have a podcast too. So if you want to give any tips, like I've been doing this for 5 years. I don't do it every single week. I've gotten consistent, but they're so bad in the beginning. And there's just things I didn't know because I started, and here I am still doing it. Yeah. So I think we have, who knows if it's the right episode, but I'm here with Dr. Erin M Baker.
I love this. Hello. Dr. E.
Dr. E, fellow IFS coach. They are a little bit ahead of me in the official certification, but I'm finally in.
You are.
And by the end of the year, I won't be certified, but I will have my level 1 complete. And I've been doing shit tons of training since then, plus my own work. What's been up with you in the IFS world and coaching?
I mean, it is just, it's become the bread and butter, the core of everything. I mean, we talked about this when I was first diving into it, that the IFS just put in this really wonderful framework everything I'd seen about the world around multiplicity and parts. And I have been thanking my lucky stars that I got into the IFS level 1 training, because as we know, there are thousands, and every time I talk to someone, it's a different number, but it's in the like over 10,000 range, right? So I just keep going, oh, I don't know why the universe did me a solid, but thank you. And I'm really glad I'm in the training because, you know, there's something just so different about being with people and picking up the nuances of the model. I've read all the books. I listened to Dick. I've listened to, all of the sort of big founding parents, not just fathers, right, of the IFS model. Mm-hmm. But being in the room and picking up on these very subtle questions to ask, and being in I thought I was going slow, but no, it's even slower, right? And, you know, something you've said, Allison, that is so profound for us as coaches is to not coach your parts. Learning how to be a coach who doesn't coach parts and coming at it from the therapy perspective has been eye-opening. And I think it's really profound because, you know, I could hear someone I see someone listening going, well, then why aren't you just therapists at this point? And we're not.
I have something to say about that, but we'll go back. I wrote it down so I don't forget.
Yeah. I'm still coaching. I'm still talking about coaching topics. I'm not necessarily working with people in the context of healing being their primary goal. Healing is sort of secondary to what they've come to me for. But this sort of brute force, you need to like move through your limiting beliefs, and you need to have explosive insights, and that'll catalyze you forward. And you need to like get your parts to see a different perspective. Doesn't work. And I can now see like why I was always having this weird tension in the coaching world around this. Like doesn't feel good. I don't know why this doesn't feel good. Coaching's amazing, but this particular way of coaching doesn't feel good. So it's been really, really mind blowing to be in the presence of, 50 other people who aren't coaching their parts either, because that's not how the model works.
So the part I want to lay on the table as a possible shift, you said the phrase therapy perspective. And of course, being a coach and not legally allowed to be a therapist, I have like little want to do it right parts that are like hybrid. And you and I have actually had some discussions about this off camera and off podcast too. I'm not going to call it the therapy perspective. I'm going to call it the consent perspective, the curious perspective. Like some of the very early things I learned in coaching. And I always go back to this even before I found IFS. And I'm not saying like, listen, on Facebook, I started a list, but it's just too tedious to keep it. But like, there are people I coached 12 years ago, 15 years ago, and I'm sure I was a little bit of a cunt. I'm sure I was too. Right? Like, I'm sure I was like all ego and bossy and performative and all that other stuff. And I was trained in a very toxic coaching, very, very toxic coaching environment. And there's a lot of good things. But one of the things I learned was from coactive coaching, I think. I'm pretty sure the person who taught me like just stole a bunch of stuff from ICF and trained us with it. But it was that the client is resourceful and whole. And I have always tried to remember that. And personally, I get so frustrated. I know sometimes like my therapist and my coaches are like, oh, Allison just needs to be witnessed. Of course. I just need to be witnessed. So I'm saying, and I'm realizing, and you and I both today, this is how we ended up on a random live stream podcast. We were both doing our thing around nothing on a Saturday. And I was like, let's grab a drink and just do an IFS Jam session to catch up. And we may have to make this a regular series because we were both talking about just some of the toxic bypassing in coaching. And one of you and I both are just adoring Simone Soul. And I shared today, I was like, I'm not somebody, I share. I share. I mean, I really mean it. And she's teaching some things that, I talk about, but I'm not ready to put up a whole class. So I'm like, people need to go take her How Not to Gaslight. And now she's doing one on how not to be an asshole in sales. And in my room, we call it sovereign sales. And one of the first things that I did realize that therapists are taught as a skill over and over again. So I think that's why we can say the therapist's perspective, but it's with the skill that therapists are taught is consent. And it's not just consent in your agreement, it's consent over and over and over again throughout a session, right? Like you're always getting permission because any moment the permission could shift. And so you're really, this is where it blows my mind.
Yeah, I love this.
Right? Because I know you're this way too. Here we are doing this internal consent or consent with our clients. And everything is permission and permission. And you don't have to do this if you don't want to. And permission. And it's the opposite of what all the structural bullshit systems of the world have done to us. And maybe I'm just a little nerd because I'm seeing it right now. I'm 50 and I'm like, I'm just seeing all this stuff and I see it so differently. And now that consent and that permission for these parts and the going slow is everything we didn't get as little kids. We didn't get, I didn't get as a woman. You probably haven't gotten as non-binary, right? Like, you certainly are not still getting as a non-binary person. I know you have a before life and that experience and right, like, and doctors not giving us an inner authority, and no wonder. You're right. We don't have to do therapy, and all these things that come up in the coaching world as quote, limiting beliefs or blocks. These parts have said enough. You can take any class you want. You can tell me I can be inspired all day long. But as soon as that dopamine hits off, those protectors are like, nope, not going there. Yep. Not until you pay some attention to me. Not without my consent.
Consent, right? And I think what's so powerful, and I'm hearing how you're saying it, and I think I can apply it to so many different realms of life. It's the moment by moment permission, the moment by moment consent. Just because I consented to something 5 minutes ago doesn't mean I still consent. And I've experienced that both in my own internal work and in working with clients where it makes a shift. And if we're not slowed down and attuned to, is this okay right now? We are violating our clients. We are doing harm. And the moment by moment permission, I'm going to use the word permission because I talked about non-binary. The moment by moment permission for things to change is something we have not been given in any realm of life.
If it was okay 5 minutes ago or 5 seconds ago and you changed your mind, I mean, like we can say that's just about sex, but it's about everything.
Well, and if you change your mind too much, then that's a knock on you. You can't commit. You can't make a decision.
Yeah, there's something wrong with you. Right? You changed your mind. Yep, exactly. You know what actually really led this to me is there was she's a trauma therapist on TikTok, and it was just a short little video, but it clicked open a portal. And she said, I am not teaching I think her son is 6th grade, my 6th grade son consent. I am teaching them enthusiastic yes. I am teaching them, are their faces happy? Are they moving towards you? Are they smiling real big? And she was talking about sex. And, or are they saying yes with the head down? And I just went, my whole body is like, it's got cold shivers. So I get shivers a lot, but I don't normally get a heavy chill because for me, as a girl and as a woman, and in my little petri dish of growing up, disagreement meant violence or disconnection. And so I went along to get along. And then, it turned into the same thing with sex later too. But like, just anybody, you can't have those feelings. That's not right. Like, just, oh my gosh, I see it now. I can't not see it. It's like I have the autonomy and the permission to have autonomy, because I think we would have these experiences like, I'm gonna be this for myself, and then somebody slaps you down and gaslights you and tells you you're wrong, and so of course we disconnect. And so the consent. Slow and the and that was why it was important to me. I don't think it's something that should just be attributed to therapists. I think it's a relationship skill, and definitely needs to be in the coaching world. There is so much freaking toxic harm in the coaching world.
And I wrote about this. It's insidious because well-meaning people don't realize they're doing it. Right. I mean, you and I have both been assholes to our clients because that's the way we were taught, and that's what we were. At least for me, I'll speak for me. That was what's in the highest good of my client. I need to be a stand for the possibility on the other side of this limiting belief at all costs. Right, and so the thing that really gets me, and is why I'm so passionate about how can I bring this more to the coaching industry, is some of the toxic behavior is intentional, but a lot of it is not. And it's just a lack of education and awareness.
We live in that. We live in the context of toxic systems. And I'm also like, the more I'm spending time with my go along to get along parts and my people pleasing part, I'm doing a lot of study and a lot of sharing and teaching and coaching and working with people and myself on these people pleasing parts. And there's just so much to witness, not even to teach myself, but like these parts are just oh my gosh, and the nuance. So that you started out by talking about don't coach ourselves. And I've had two people that have had really strong reactions to me saying that, because I'll add on. My coach told me, hey, by the way, don't coach yourself. And since then, I have realized I also have to watch out for self-parenting, even self-soothing, like what we call caretaking parts. They are not bad. And many of us in the coaching world have also learned self-parenting modalities. And there is, so this goes back to the nuance you mentioned. Parts can be self-led or they can be burden-led. And a lot of my coachy parts are burden. When I'm self-coaching, burden-led. If I'm self-parenting, I have to double check. And even wait to soothe, because are we soothing to immediately stop the pain instead of witness what needs to be witnessed? And so that other distinction about coaching parts, caretaking parts, because they're so well-meaning and they look so good, and people are all like, no, but I want, and I'm like, I'm not saying you're wrong. You can't do this wrong. I'm just saying.
It's I mean, I see it from the parts perspective, but it's like an energetic shift, right? So it doesn't mean I don't point out the limiting beliefs of a part. Doesn't mean I don't invite that part to try on new beliefs. It's just, is that come from a curious, compassionate place connected to the part? Has the part been witnessed? Or is it from I need to change you right now?
Yes, exactly. Like
I do a lot, right? And what I do with a lot of my clients is I give people is the part willing to try this on for size, this new belief? Right. And then, sometimes that means we design because we are doers in coaching. We design a little experiment where the part will go out in the world and see if it can validate this new belief. But that's not me being like, you need to believe this. You need to change this. Your beliefs are wrong. When are you going to show up for yourself part?
Right. I realized long before IFS, there's the cognitive thinking model or whatever, CBT model. And I did learn thoughts equal programming equals thoughts equals feelings equals actions. And at one point, actually, when I started Soulies back in 2017, I had this sacred seed and kind of overlaid these being, doing, and having models. And in my experience in coaching, I was like, we can't just see a thought and change it to change the feeling. I intuitively knew from my own personal experience. I was like, some of these feelings need to be felt. That's a slow down. That's if we're doing a race car and coaching and going forward, this is a slow curve, right? So once you notice the thought is creating a feeling, slow down. And then I would draw this thing where there's this whole other thing that has to happen before we can come back effectively. Trying to find a good word, right? Because until that part has enough trust, right? Until that part has had the experience they need to have, which doesn't have to be, here's the coachy defending part. It doesn't have to be therapeutic, but that part needs to be witnessed and heard. And I'm finding that I tell my clients, we do a lot of middle management work. So we work with a lot of managers every once in a while. Exiles very rarely come up. But the middle managers, man, they are burdened. The caretaking parts are burdened. And they need witness. And they need slow. And they're like, I need to tell you about this. Okay, I've told you now. I'm ready to go. Okay, I'll try your experiment.
Exactly. Okay, well, I'm kind of tired of doing this thing. So if you think you can help me do something different, I guess I'm all ears, right? But it takes a while, and I think that's the slowdown of IFS really, for me, ran up against some of my discomfort around coaching being this like fast thing that people would say, I went to therapy for years and a single coaching, changed my life. And like, I have one client who we discovered a part, and I was very clear that it was a learning part, really, really strong manager that'd been there for a long time. And I was thinking, we're going to work on this for 6 months. And maybe in 6 months, that part will have been witnessed enough to let go. And that's not how I've been taught to coach. And so I've had to like confront my own discomfort around the slowness of a process, right? And my own, all the coaching parts that want to get my clients the return on their investment and wants to see, tangible results. I'm so thankful that I've done this work on myself and I have an embodied knowing, right?
I just changed my fucking marketing. I was like, I ain't here for your bullshit bullet point promises. Will you get results? Yes. And slow is fast.
Yeah. Slow is fast. And that's something that has been said to me in my IFS training several times over. And so I love hearing that. And it's also changed even how I think about how long am I willing to engage with a client for, right? Will I work with them for, I've done 6 and 12 month packages. Do I really believe that 6 months can get me where I can get my client to a place where we want to go? Maybe, I don't know. I'm thinking about, changing my model and saying, look, the work we're going to do, it'll change you drastically. But if we stop at 6 months, we might shortchange you.
I always thought that. But let me ask you a question. Are you working mostly one-on-one? Are you mostly working one-on-one or hybrid or like I have
one-on-one and group?
Very few one-on-one clients these days. Yeah. I have my group clients can have a one-on-one session. My Cultivate Leadership get one a month. But I'm doing a lot of IFS in group context, and I have had too. A class on group, and it's fascinating. Yeah.
So my Self-Leadership Academy group is 100% focused on IFS based work, and something that also was sort of uncomfortable for me when I first got into level 1 was this idea of like, you don't need to do much psychoeducation. People will pick up the model. I actually have a group of 5 women who really love learning about the model and what's happening. And so I get to both teach what's happening and talk about it. And then, we get to be there and witness. And I love the group context. I love IFS one-on-one. And then I have one client who's in both the group and one-on-one, and the synergy that happens between the group work and our one-on-one work. Sometimes I wish that was my entire model, that you've got to do both with me.
Right. Yeah. Right? I like creating a community of this language, and it's interesting to watch various people. Some people pop in. There's some people, here's how slow is fast. There's some people who show up for at least 1 call a week. I have 2 calls a week. On Monday, we do a business call, and on Thursday, we do a life call. Bring whatever topic. And there are people who show up at least once a week regularly. And so they have chosen to immerse themselves, and they don't get hung up. Like, they have had really fast results by just being in the room where we're immersed in this language, this framework. I mean, still other things come in. On Monday, I'm doing like a totally pick Allison's brain strategy kind of thing. Like, we're not doing parts work, I don't think. But it was interesting because I had taken a group course really early, and I went back to retake it because there are some things I'm learning again about consent. I've always been pretty good at, taking one person and being able to help others or have them call in. I always say, okay, Erin, we just did a little session with Erin. Don't comment on Erin's coaching. And what is your takeaway for yourself and your parts? Those kinds of things. But I do that too. Being in the environment and having the language, I really encourage my clients who are parents to begin teaching parts language to their children. My husband has no idea what IFS is, and I use parts language all the time, especially if there's conflict. I did not yesterday. I actually called him a name. I haven't called him a name in a long time. And he said, but good boundaries. Like, you can't call me names. And I was like, sorry, fucker. My gosh. Okay, I have a few other questions for you. I want to ask some questions, but I want to share this real quick. Do you have Jay Early's book?
I do.
This is the workbook by Bonnie Weiss. I'm about to send it to all my leadership clients. And I recommend a lot of Dick's books and the IFS books, but I also say, hey, y'all, pick up the audiobook of Jay Early's book. I have it in all three formats, like Kindle, whatever, just because I like hearing the actual. I'm like you with here's the experience, but a lot of my clients and myself have these learning parts. And when the learning parts understand, then they open the doors to the other parts. And I was feeling a little, I feel really confident when I'm doing it, but then I was like, well, I didn't even know that my leadership coach was IFS. And is this a sign of you being new and sucking? Is one of my parts. But then I just realized, like, no, this is just my style. This has been my style is to teach alongside the experience. And I actually probably, like you, have a really honed intuition, and I'm going to go ahead and say mastery for which, my Mary Poppins bag, what do I pull out in this moment? But self-therapy workbook. So I'm going to actually make my own little poster of this. I will give Bonnie Weiss credit. But this IFS principles, I've never seen it in any, she may have it or they may have it in Jay Early's book, but I don't remember it. There's all parts are welcome. Some of those all parts are welcome. The second one, consent. You never make a part step aside or separate. You only ask. Like so clear. You respect the reasons parts have for what they are and aren't willing to do. Again, consent. All parts have positive intent. They only want the best for you. If they appear to have negative intent, they're using strategies that made sense at some point. Getting inside their world and understanding. So receiving their origin, not telling them what their origin is. Then this one I highlighted. I haven't pulled out a highlighter. I didn't even know if I still had one, but I found one. Parts will cooperate once their fears are addressed and once they can feel you and self and understand your intentions. And even other parts that are self-led. There was a distinction I recently heard about that too. Like, we don't have to be 100% in self. And some of our unburdened parts can just be self-led. It isn't possible to do it wrong. And then the very last thing says, the fastest way to resolve an issue is to work slowly, patiently, and respectfully with all parts involved. And I think that's probably the biggest, that and consent are the two biggest changes since the last time we've talked. What about you?
Oh, all those resonate a lot. I've told this story to my clients. Just the slowing down piece has just been profound for me. But the one that really hits me, and I've learned a lot of nuances around this through my level 1 coaching, is the fears and concerns. We don't. Okay, I'm going to say this, and I'm being sort of like in a universal absolutist way, but like in the coaching industry, there's this feel the fear and do it anyway mentality, right?
Oh yeah, I'm so fucking over it.
Which tends to place a value judgment on fear being bad. You just grit through it, right? And there are so many different layers of when you check for fears and concerns in the IFS model. Even just one that I learned at level 1 that hadn't come up in anything else I had done, which is before you even start talking to a part, does it have any fears and concerns about us getting to know it today?
Oh, that's good.
Right? And boom, right? There's so much opportunity there. And then, of course, sometimes another part will come in and it'll be like, oh, it's not that part, it's some other part. So that's good. And then as we go working with managers, we address, again, are there any fears and concerns coming up? It's not just fears and concerns about who are you protecting in the system, but fears as we talk. And then if we go to an exile, we then ask the protective part, or do you have any fears and concerns about getting to know the exile? Like it is constant, not just constant consent, but constant acknowledging, witnessing, and addressing fears.
Respecting
fear as you know, I'm so sick of the false evidence appearing real mantra.
I was shooting the finger, but for some reason, look at this. I was trying to shoot the finger, but I drew double peace signs.
Double peace signs.
I've only had 4 sips of wine. I'm not drunk yet.
Yeah.
But I find this very Freudian, because as you were speaking, I could literally feel the tension in my muscles relax. Which, right. I could hear that. And again, this is needed in the coaching world. This is needed in the everyday reaction world. Like it's out of professionalism. This is needed in relationship with kids and parents and partners. And it's just needed as a skill set in humanity. And then this whole idea that fear is wrong. And here's what I've noticed with my clients, Erin, and my parts. And from self, I've been able to say, that's a legitimate fear. That could totally happen.
Or once you start acknowledging, right, that the parts have come online and have been burdened for a reason, they had a legitimate fear.
Absolutely.
Right? Whether or not that fear is still true or outdated. And the thing that I have found so easy to melt tension is when you acknowledge that part and say, of course you do what you do. Of course you're protecting this system. Wow, thank you for doing such a great job for this person.
Yeah.
And one of the pieces of language that's been really helpful for me in level 1 training is we keep talking about buy-in. And it's not that we're trying to get buy-in from like a negotiation, convincing state. It's from
genuine consent.
Genuine consent.
Yeah, and like, okay, I'm willing to give this a go.
Yeah. And then reassuring the parts, especially the ones that step aside, right? So I'm going to use this language for listeners. You know, step aside basically means if we're trying to talk to like a people pleasing part, there might be an angry part that's really done with the people pleaser. And we want that angry part to watch as we get to know the people pleasing part, right?
I always say, hey, we see you, and I know you're really concerned. And I would love for you to stay in the room. We'd like to request a little bit of space right now, and I'll check in with you. I don't always check in on the session, but I kind of tell clients, I was like, can you, sometimes I'll even say, let's write this part down. I might not go through what do you want to be called, but like, I promise to check in with you in a little bit because you're an important part of this conversation. Like a lot of validation.
Total validation. And sometimes, depending on how strong that part is, I don't say I'm going to check in on you because that breaks the self-trust or not the part to me trust, right? I will actually say you have full permission. If I start going too fast or too far or going somewhere you don't want to go, jump in and let me know.
Yeah.
Right? Because otherwise, if I say I will check in and I don't,
right? Yeah.
Right? Because if I say I'm going to check in and I don't, I have now completely blown the trust in this part.
No, I totally get that. Yeah. And I share that with my clients too. I sometimes do also, this is really corny. I have little ways of doing IFS that are Allison's way. I'm sure you have your Erin ways.
Yes.
So sometimes I do, not that they absolutely work, but I do what I call all system updates, like the loudspeaker in an office building. We don't expect this to completely update everybody, but we did want to let you know that this. We do little all system updates, or we'll turn and update a cluster apart. So when we go back to those fears, now I'm not saying like you, like I may come across something that's not a legit. Let's say, oh, I'm afraid my daddy will beat me and my daddy's dead. Well, that can't happen. And these fears, when they're addressing their fears and concerns, I might get rejected. I might be left. I might be criticized. Yeah. You are absolutely right. And the updates of the system I get when you were 3 or you're 7, but right. I'd like to let you know, like, are you open to hearing how 50-year-old Allison, what I know about fears? And so I can't promise that we won't be rejected. In fact, I'll promise you we probably will be rejected, but I'd be happy if you're open to share some updates about what we know now about dealing with it. And
that's so key and so different in coaching. I think it's something worth highlighting, right? That our parts are frozen in time. And if you ask, this is so out of my, I'm a trained psychologist. Like, this is on the
did we have the same conversation the last time we did? I feel like we're living
so woo-woo, right? That these parts are frozen in time, right?
No, they are frozen. It's not woo-woo. It's like science.
But so when I say, even just, I'll give without breaking any confidentiality. I had a client the other day whose part wasn't even aware that it existed. This part was like, oh, I exist, and wasn't aware of the human that it existed within.
Always, often, not always, but often.
And needed that human to say, this is who I am. This is what's up now. And you talk about, like, I'm afraid I'm going to get beat at my dad. Well, my dad's dead. That's because the part doesn't know that.
Right. One of my favorite questions that I learned early on, I used to ask, how old are you? This is before IFS, like when we were working with inner children. How old are you? And I've been trained in a coaching modality, by the way, that does that. Yeah. And in IFS, we say, how old do you think I am?
Both, right? And actually, are you even aware of Allison?
Yeah. Do you see that I'm here?
Allison exists? Sometimes the part's like, no. And I mean, this is fascinating for me. This part I was getting to know with my client this week was so young that it barely had words. And if I hadn't been doing this work and witnessed this work multiple times over, I would have thought this client is just like fooling me right now. But it was so young that it was speaking to, and it could not even speak to my client. It had to speak to me directly. But it could only speak in one word at a time. And it had a shriller voice that sounded younger. And it was, again, this is all of my like skeptical scientist parts in the past would have been like, you're working with a charlatan client. There's no possible way this is what's happening. And I'm watching that going, oh no, this is real. And this is fascinating.
Well, what's so fun? So, right, like, let me just scratch my back with a ruler real quick.
I love the impromptu back scratch.
If the client is capable, resourceful, and whole, as a coach, all we're doing is facilitating them to return to their wholeness so they can make their decisions. And then I still love getting into strategy, but strategy without the team on board, especially the one or ones that have been resistant about it forever. So in my own personal work, this is what's fun. Here's what's different between now and the last time. And I don't even remember, it was probably a year ago that we connected and did a podcast, maybe a little less than a year ago. People-pleasing parts, completely different. In fact, a colleague friend of mine this morning called me and she said, you come across as so clear about what you're available for and what you're not right now. And I was like, yeah, I've been working on that. That is not an overnight change, but I have been spending a lot of time with thinking parts and with my therapist and in the experience. So an important distinction for anybody listening. You can listen to this stuff all day and you can read it all day, but experiencing it is a full body thing. And it's an important part. And you are not going to you've got to, and Dick is that way when he does podcasts, because he's like, well, instead of talking about it, let's just do it. And it is a full body all parts involved experience.
Mm-hmm.
And what's so fun is clients are like, oh my God. Oh God, I got so many thoughts. Okay. Client recently, oh my God, I love this work. I feel so much lighter. That's what she hired me for in session 2. She's like, I feel so much lighter. I'm like, oh, score. And I'm learning. So this is another distinction of like, hi, we've graduated from kindergarten IFS. I'm now in like first grade, second grade, maybe even more, but certainly not in graduate school yet. And that just the way my parts talk to me, everybody else's system is different. And so a lot of times in my group, I'm having to say, I may use language of check in with your parts. What does it say? And when I say, it may mean show you a picture, give you a smell, give you a physical sensation, right? So alongside this, I'm learning a lot about inclusivity because every part is different, which means every human is different. And I'm learning so much more. I just told my clients last week, I said, here's the deal. I'm done having, even in my mind, I'm done having an idea of what your learning looks like. You're the decider of your learning and involvement. And y'all come in and y'all apologize for being late. Stop. I'm here. I'm going to do this work and you do what works for you in your system. And if you're late, it's perfect for your system. Or if you, because my clients sometimes will listen instead of participate. And right, and like in the coaching world, everybody needs to come and everybody needs to be off their camera and it's like, oh, fuck
and everyone
yourself.
needs to be on time, right? Like if you're 4 minutes late, what is that? How is that showing up in the rest of your life that you're 4 minutes late?
Oh my God. And then I just decided like I gotta say, I'm learning some of this from Simone is like the accessibility, like everybody learns differently. But I wasn't able to see that until I was able to see my own parts. And so this is what I find fascinating. My external world is changing dramatically. And the way I move in the external world is changing dramatically because I'm willing to get to know and listen instead of coach or teach these parts. Tell me about your experience. What else? Like some of the earliest fundamental coaching skills, like what else? What else? What else? What else?
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to show me? Are you sure?
Sometimes I have to like confront a part that wants to be more useful because when I'm asking a lot of questions that are like, get on a soapbox, tell me what you need to know, like what I need to know, right? And again, like what else? Like I'm not asking the profound, powerful questions that might be on a Rich Litvin 121 powerful questions list. I'm literally asking like, got anything else for me?
You know what's so funny too, though, right? Like, is because I think all of us coaches have, like, we probably all could make up, like, or sometimes we've accidentally asked a powerful question and been like, I'm fucking badass. But you know who one of my what else people is Rich Litvin. Like he was somebody for me that modeled not have to be important during the coaching session. Now, he may make a list or a post, but in an actual coaching session, my experience of him was he sat back and he witnessed. Now, I also know my parts commanded that shit from him.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think he's a slightly different style these days, but
he may, which is fine. Yeah. But like, oh my gosh.
But that's been also a thing that's been confronting about this IFS model, right? And it's even more fascinating watching the therapists in level 1 training because they have been taught. I don't know. And I went through a year of social work school, but I don't have enough understanding of how this is sort of revolutionary. But they've been taught to be the experts, and they have been taught to be in leadership, right? Like us. Yeah. Okay. And so to show up and do very little. Because I love the premise of IFS, right? It's self-healing. And we're here to help facilitate and guide, but ultimately, you know, we may be the ones talking to parts initially because people can't necessarily access them themselves or access the energy for it. But ultimately, the goal is to build that self to part relationship, and we're just bystanders. And that can be very edgy for those of us who are coaches who are used to charging massive amounts of money. We feel like we have to be the experts. We have to be mind blowing. We have to be teaching, mentoring, whatever it is. And sometimes it's just as simple as
time out. Your sound is
oh,
time
no.
out. Your sound is going out, and sometimes it's as simple as there's just a little. Your face is so cute. Yeah, there's a little network connection. Hold on, it's okay. We got time for it. It's okay. We can go slow. Okay. Slow as fast.
Slow as fast. Tell me when it comes back.
I think you're back.
Okay.
I couldn't tell. At first, I thought it was just your earpods, but then I think it's your connection. But I think you're back now. So I don't know if you could pick up that last little part.
Yeah. So it's as simple as being there with the part in silence.
Yeah. Presence.
What I kind of wanted to say.
So,
right.
Yes. Okay. Lately, and I don't intentionally say I'm going to pick a word, but there's the 8 C's and then there's the 5 P's, and somewhere I have the 5 P's. But for my system, because I'm a disassociator and disconnector, and I will be from the head up. So Enneagram 7, which I really don't relate with, but I do relate with all my thinking and need to know parts. And I also have all the good girl parts. And I'm noticing most of my clients are big learners and big achievers and big make everybody happy parts. So
me too.
I'm learning presence, and slow creates attunement. Like you wait long enough. It's kind of like you used to live in Austin, Texas, my hometown. And so you've been in Barton Springs before. And you know how like you get in Barton Springs and it is shocking to the system. And if you stay in the water, this is like a 68-degree spring fed. It's in the history. It's really cool in Austin, in the center of Austin. And it's really effing cold. And if you get in and get out, it's still cold. But if you get in and stay in, your body temperature acclimates. And what I didn't know, however many months ago, was part of the slowness is the somatic acclimation of, it's not just a mental decision these parts are making. It's a whole body experience they need to have. And trust is not just a mental decision. It requires time on task, and it requires presence. And so presence. And we hear that, right? Like if somebody's grieving, they don't need you to say all these things. And if you are going to do something, don't ask them what to do, just do it. And a lot of times, like I'll just be here with you. And I notice that and here's what's so sweet and tender to some of my caretaking parts. Our business clients. We're not, I would guess for you, I'm going to make some assumptions. Feel free to correct me.
Go for it. Yep.
But you and I are not dealing with people who are consumed by suicidal ideation, alcoholism,
correct,
toxic abusive relationships, eating disorders. Our clients are in a pretty stable place. And I do have clients that absolutely have their therapist for those things.
Yes.
And our clients also want a deeper conversation. They know strategy. Both of our clients tend to be more experienced in business. They know they can figure out a how-to. They don't need another damn strategy. And so they really are coming to us because I've had all the strategy. I've had all the coaching, and I still don't trust myself, or something is still going on. And
I still keep falling back into the matrix as a line I've used before. I keep getting wrapped up in, I see, Simone would be a great example, but Simone doesn't give concrete strategy, but I see this thing on Instagram and all of a sudden I find myself thinking I have to have a podcast, or I have to have a blog, or I have they fall out of alignment with what brings them joy. Is a big word for me, right? And joy and self-energy are very similar. But yeah, there's these people who are
I call that getting hooked.
They know how to make money, right? They can make money any way. They want to make money from a really deeper, aligned, soulful, joyful place. And so this work is really powerful for that, to understand where those parts take them right out of who they are.
Yeah. It's so, I'm so excited. And I know, are there any other coaches in your cohort of your training?
Yes.
Did you say there's one or none?
Yeah, two. Well, so there's two and a half. It's interesting. It's not just therapists, right? So we have a foster mom, and she's doing cool. IFS with the foster boys she has, and
amazing.
Children take the IFS, like they get IFS. It's like we almost beat multiplicity out of our kids.
Yes.
We've got a foster mom, we've got a podiatrist, we've got a nurse, and then there's a guy who's a former pastor who's got a therapy license, but also does coaching. And then there's two other people, one of them named Allison. So I can't even tell my wife I'm talking to IFS Allison. Which one?
Because I'm IFS Allison number 1. Hello.
We call her Al. We can call me Al. Call her Al. So yeah, there's 2 other peer coaches. And I don't know how much Al will take it with her. I'm still getting to know both Al and Drew. I think Drew's going to incorporate it, but I think I'm the only person sitting in this training going, how do we bring IFS to the coaching world more?
I think we're doing it. I think we're doing the best that we can. I think it's great that there are people like, Rebecca Ching, who was one who taught me. And, every once in a while, after the fact, I would hear her podcast is called The Unburdened Leader. And I didn't know what that meant in IFS terms. And even when we started, I didn't know what I was signing up for. And she was like, oh, by the way, and she gave me the books, and the books were like, oh. And so there's plenty of people, like my therapist works a couple different modalities. I work a couple different modalities too, right? I said, the Mary Poppins bag is part of what is my gift and my genius as a coach. And this is a core way of viewing the world and ourselves that I find helpful everywhere, not just in the coaching world, and particularly in the coaching world with the problems our clients are encountering. And it's interesting because, right, in the early years of my coaching, I was working with a lot of newer people. And now I'm working with a lot more people who are experienced. My clients are average. I have some younger, some older, but my clients are average 45 to 55. Most of my clients have been in business, and because of that, they've been in business for a long time, maybe different variations. And so, and many of them have been in personal development. I look back and go, I've been coaching since I was 15 years old and didn't even know it. I just didn't know that coaching was a modality.
Yeah, me too.
I giggle that I went to UT my freshman year and was going to be a therapist, but I made a D in psychology. And
who do I need to back down in that department? Because I know that department very well.
Right. But even making the decision, because I was going to go get my PhD and I was trying for counseling psychology, and they only accept 10 people. And I was the second alternate, and I took a job instead. And I just chuckle because I've thought about it every once in a while. I have parts that are jealous of your PhD in psychology because I would love to be able to put that credibility. But right now, I don't know that there's a program that warrants my time and money in exchange for I don't want to be a part of a bullshit system. There's other ways to learn, and the best, most effective. So every once in a while too, I pull up my IFS classes, and I pulled up a session from the IFS Circle on the IFS Institute, which, by the way, y'all, anybody is available to take. I highly recommend Erin took it too. And once you take the IFS circle, they offer you the continuum. And I think you pay a flat fee. I can't remember I think it's a flat fee, and every month I get a new course. And so there's like, I haven't caught up with all of them, but there's like IFS and parenting, and IFS and addiction, and IFS and group work, and IFS and coaching, and IFS and all these other things. And so I just have a steady stream of participating in these classes. But I have parts that I actually told my therapist yesterday. I have had so much concrete evidence for people-pleasing parts and rejection-sensitive dysphoria parts, like my last rejection-sensitive dysphoria episode. And the way I experience it is a landmine. I don't experience it all the time, but when a RSD part gets hit, it is in the past, it has been a 3-month ordeal before I'm mentally back to a centered state. It's all consuming. And my last RSD episode lasted 3 hours. It's huge. It's huge.
Phenomenal.
The other thing
phenomenal.
It is phenomenal. Like the time, like 3 hours. And I didn't even force it. It was just natural. And then the other thing was I released myself from an agreement with a coach that the program was not working for me. And I almost walked away from the contract, which had just started. It was only 3 months in. And so I was about to sacrifice $24,000. And my people pleaser were literally saying, just take it as a loss. They were gaslighting me. Just take it as a loss. And I was like, I had some conversations, and I was able to listen to a little part of me that said, you always fold. You always go along to get along. And you actually have some legitimate legal reasons for asking to be out of your contract. And I was able in 24 hours. Now, it took me a while to realize it. You know what took me a while? It took me a while to pay attention to the parts. The experience, right? Like the issues were happening, but I didn't slow down and pay attention to the parts. I did some quick, deep exploration with my therapist. And within 24 hours, I had saved $24,000 by listening to a people-pleasing, I never had consent part. And I was able to pull in a self-led business negotiator without any rejection-sensitive dysphoria or without the people-pleasing. And those parts were not shoved away. They were absolutely heard and cared for. And they were absolutely updated and excited to, they were a little nervous, but like, and then helping my parents do the thing. So I have these 3 major physical, financial, behavioral evidenced cases. I got my own case study of holy shit, this stuff works. Slow but quick. Do you have any places? Yeah. Do you have any that you're willing? Now you don't have to consent, but is there any story or shift that you've noticed in your own self and your parts that in traditional
there's a couple yeah. I mean, I've been getting to know a lot of different parts.
And reminder, you don't have to share if you don't want to.
No, what's really coming to me has been, so I've spent about 1.5 years writing my book, and I have gone through multiple iterations of what the fuck I'm writing and what it's about and what the chapters are like. And all of my blockers were parts.
Yes.
And right, all of them, every one of them were parts. And I hit this
4
place.
Concrete examples. Keep going, but yes.
Yeah. So, and it was just like fascinating to me how one of the things was every time I opened Microsoft Word, an academic part came out. I could not write a book. And at one point, literally, my book coach, Patty, and I were looking at something I posted on Instagram and something I wrote both about toxic positivity on Instagram versus my Microsoft Word. And we're just like, this is two different people. What is going on here? And so getting to know that academic part, getting to know its fears and concerns, which were pretty deep around, I have a lot of stuff around my PhD, but then being able to learn that the parts that really wanted to come out, the playful ones, we're going to record it in Otter AI.
Yeah.
And I went from being completely paralyzed to write and having hours on hours of maybe getting a few hundred words out in a day. I got 60,000 words out of Otter in maybe a month and a half.
Yeah.
And now I'm in the editing phase of those 60,000 words. And this week alone, I found out I had 20,000 more words to clean up from Otter AI. And I was like, that normally would have taken me freaking ages. I edited, 11,536 words this week because I have let go of, not let go, but some of the parts that were so strongholded in me.
They're not carrying the burdens anymore.
We're not carrying the burden anymore. And one of the biggest ones that I'm really working on in every aspect of my life is the one that feels like I have to do it alone.
Oh.
That I'm an only child. And through some of the work that I've done, there were some parentifying of my parents that happened naturally because both my parents were very
academics.
They were academics, but also my dad had lupus and my mom had breast cancer. Like I had a lot of health challenges with my parents growing up. And so I literally was caretaking. And so I have this really ingrained belief that if I can't do it by myself, I'm not valuable. And so I've actually done a lot of surrender. And even the words I'm cleaning up in my book right now, I know they're not exactly where I want them to be, but I've given Patty free reign to go do whatever she needs to do. And I'm leaning into trusting that this is a woman who knows what she's doing. And that whatever she's going to send back to me is going to be way better than if I sit here trying to perfect on my own this 500 word, 1,000 word piece. And I've let go that a book has to look a certain way. It's literally going to be conversation style. I don't know how many there are at this point, but it's not chapters. It's these little conversations that kind of have through ties and will kind of relate to each other. But like all my parts that were like a good academic cites all their sources and defends all their perspectives and writes linearly. All those parts needed to say their piece, take a deep breath, and watch as whatever other parts are in the lead now.
I love that. Did you know
I hope my book will be all the better. I hope
your book coach and my book coach are really good friends.
Yes, I've heard this. I
did not know that they were really good friends. Come here. Somebody's whining, and then we'll have to wrap up. But your book coach and my book coach are really good friends. And I've been working with my book coach for 2.5 years now. And I, this year, started paying her a whole lot more. I was like, I need this help. Like I am paying her out the ass to do a lot of organizational stuff because that's where I get hooked up. But before that, and she's the one who called it. She was like, have you noticed that you have a part that comes up and literally can't breathe when we have sessions? And I didn't really necessarily do it any unburdening or talking, but I did go through this year in 2021 where, and I was like, did I have COVID and not know that I have COVID? And I had gone to the doctor and had my lungs x-rayed and had EKGs because she was like, I think you're having heart problems. She like immediately did an EKG with my symptoms. And I was like, well, if I was having a heart attack, I've had one every day for the last 6 months. And they especially come on when I talk on the phone with my book coach. And interestingly, as soon as I got the EKG and the lung and heart x-ray, they did not find anything. They did find a back problem, but they did not find anything with my lungs or my heart. And intellectually, I acknowledged that maybe that was a part. It went away. I haven't had the shortness of breath since then. So I didn't do any session. I didn't do any work. But right, like I do think there's an overall being with my system. And so y'all, when we say system here at the end of this hour-long podcast, system is yourself and all your parts and your exiles. Like and your parts are made up of managers and firefighters, which are all protectors. And then you have your like inner core wounded child, which are exiles. And but they work as a whole, just like a family. So you say your internal family, and we call that, for some short, we call it system. And so it's fascinating how so much of my system doesn't need all this deep work. They just need recognition and validation.
Right?
And I'm doing some work with
so many parts that's all it is awareness and acknowledgement. And it's like, really, I don't have to do anything, because I can see people getting fearful of IFS. It's like, oh my God, we got to go deep on every part, and we got to witness every part, and that sounds exhausting. And I'm like, sometimes yes, sometimes you just go, I have an academic part, and it goes, okay, bye.
Yeah, right. That's that's why I love. Right. Oh gosh, you and I could talk for the rest of the day on this. I love it. I'm so glad. I'm so glad to have you as a friend, obviously, and also as a peer IFS coach at this stage in their learning and journeying. And I know, since you and I talked about this, and we both talk about it all the time, I hear other people say, oh, I know about IFS. And you and I are both just really vocal and have intentions of vocally and intentionally bringing this to our work, bringing this to the coaching world, bringing this to our relationships, bringing this to humanity. And at the beginning, I was like, I need to be special. I don't want anybody to know. And now, like, I want everybody to know.
Everybody. I want everybody to know. And I don't care. Like you were sharing about Simone's stuff, and like, I'm similarly like, a part of me in the past would have been like, Simone beat me to it. Damn it. Like, why am I, and it would beat me up, right? For why am I not saying
she's so young and why am I so old? Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And when I saw her post that, I went, oh, thank God, because that part of me that feels like I have to do this all alone just got validation that no, there's somebody else out there doing it. And she may be doing it right now, and she may be going first on certain things, but I want every person on the planet to understand IFS, because I see the collective healing that we can do when we unburden our parts. And there's stuff in IFS we didn't even cover today around how do we actually work with generational trauma, and how do we work with these cultural burdens like white supremacy and patriarchy. And so I'm like, let me just, everybody, please know about it. I don't need to be special. I just need to be vocal.
No, but right. Like for years, I have really struggled with, like, I do care about politics, and so much of the coaching world is like, don't look at politics. And I'm like, politics is life. And if I'm a life coach, how can I not pay attention to decisions that are made about life for us by our government? And so I'm absolutely into politics. I'm absolutely into social justice. And like my sister is a real good front line. Like that's her role. And my role, like in dog rescue lately, I haven't been able to foster dogs. So I transport like behind the scenes. And I was like, I'm feeling helpless. And then all of a sudden I'm like, hold on. This, for me, the most effective way I can create political, social change, racial change, not tolerance. That's not the word. Just celebrate human rights change. That's the right human rights change, human love and acceptance change, human belonging change is these conversations of helping people create the framework of being with any part of them that is disrupting somehow. Because even and my own parts, like I see people being parts led. And so I see that everywhere I go. And I'm like, I may not be able to run around and teach millions about this, but I can work with these 50 clients in my membership and these 7 clients in here. And I don't want 10,000 clients. I don't want all this. I can share my heart, show my work, and work with my 60 clients. And that is 60 people that will, and of those 60, let's say 30 of them really take it on. and really jive with it, and really then I have made a ripple with people who are able to lead themselves and anything that comes up, and that will eventually go towards the way we treat other human beings, which is manifested in politics and systems.
When we stop being wounded, it's really hard to treat other people.
That's a good way to say it.
Right?
That's a good way to say it.
We're all operating from, all of these systems are wounded systems, right?
Protected, and so there's coping mechanisms.
Yeah,
we're so coping mechanisms.
When all of me is welcome, all of you is welcome, right? And so I'm in the same boat. I don't necessarily have this dream about tens of thousands of people, but for me, there will be down the line, and I'm doing slow as fast here, there will be more teaching and mentoring.
Say that one more time. I'm going to hit mute. I want to hear it. I didn't hear it. Say it one more time.
So I don't need to make impact in the tens of thousands. I don't want to be, for me, my parts don't want to step out on a stage. They don't want to be, I have a whole allergy to gurus and charismatic leaders. But down my line, and this is something I'm sort of slow as fasting towards, is I do want to be teaching and mentoring other coaches in this method. Whether it's through the IFS Institute and through a sanctioned thing or something else I do, because that's the ripple of impact for me, right? Is if every coach had this, I mean, that's pipe dream, but if the more coaches that have this in their hands, the more people they're then bringing it to, that's how we spread it out. Not through getting on stage and talking about IFS, but truly doing it one burden, one person, one healing at a time. And I just have this vision of like a coaching industry that is doing this deeply important societal work. Coaching has been such an individual thing, and I love the individual create your life method. And what if coaching can be at the forefront of systemic change?
I think I do know that there has to be many different roles. Right? Like it's not just one role. And so our role in our industry, I can't be responsible for the nursing industry. Right. And I'm so glad this is getting into medicine, and I'm so glad it's getting into education, but this is my industry. And I will work to keep my home clean and clear and holy. And I mean that in the human sense, not the religious sense. And it's so cute because my dogs were going apeshit. It is their dinner time and they're barking at me. And instead of like, at first I was like, stop, shush, doesn't work. And I told them, come here, let me give you some attention. And they're quiet. They're still hyper, but they're quiet. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close up real quick. Yes. Is there any way someone can get a hold of you or work with you?
Yes. So I'm mostly focusing on my book right now, but I do pop up on Instagram every so often at Dr. Erin M Baker. There's an M in there. And then you can check out my website, ErinMBaker.com, for the offerings I have, which, I love this stuff, and I will be bringing more and more of it to the world over time.
Awesome. Me too. I'm going to go feed my dogs. Thanks for hopping on a random Saturday afternoon podcast.
I love it. IFS. Best Saturday afternoon.
I look forward to our next jam. IFS and coaching jam is what I'm calling these. I don't know. That's so weird, but whatever. Mwah. Love you. Thank you.
Love you. All right. Bye.
Hey, if you enjoyed this episode and want to dive deeper, come check out the Soulies Self-Leadership Society. It's my online coaching membership community, a networking community, a place to belong, and a place where you can be coached by me in life and business. We dive deep into the practices of both being and doing that help us create our unique version of soulful success. It's a special community of small business owners just like you, and it's where I show up and give my clients personal support at an accessible fee. Check it out at www.coachwithallison.com. As always, thanks for listening, and I want to give a special shout out to Elise Rich from Wide Awake Recordings for her sound production each week on my episodes, especially the car episodes, and for her music composition for my intro and outro. This show is sponsored by my 3 dogs, Leroy Brown, Clementine, and Rocky Potato. They're here to remind you to consider adopting when you get your next pet. More is not better. Better is better.